pre-fall 1945, visitors are assembled for the wedding party of where Vito Corleone's little girl Connie, Talia Shire, and Carlo Rizzi, Gianni Russo, Vito, Marlon Brando, the top of the Corleone mafia family, is referred to companions and partners as backup parent. He and Tom Hagen, Robert Duvall, the Corleone family legal counselor, are hearing solicitations for favors in light of the fact that, as per Italian practice, no Sicilian can reject a solicitation on his little girl's big day. One of the ones who asks the wearer for some help is Amerigo Bonacera, an effective undertaker and colleague of the wearer, whose girl was severely beaten by two young fellows since she declined their advances. The men got negligible discipline from the managing judge. The wearer is frustrated in Bonacera, who'd kept away from most contact with the wearer because of Corleone's detestable transactions. The wearer's significant other is guardian to Bonacera's disgraced girl, a relationship the wearer uses to separate new faithfulness from the funeral director. The wearer consents to have his men rebuff the young fellow's dependable, in a non-deadly way, as a trade-off for future help if essential. In the meantime, the wearer's most youthful child Michael, Al Pacino, a designed U.S. Marine legend getting back from the Second Great War administration, shows up at the wedding and tells his better half Kay Adams, Diane Keaton, stories about his family, illuminating her about his dad's criminal life. He consoles her that he is unique in relation to his family and doesn't want to go along with them in their criminal dealings. The wedding scene fills in as basic piece until the end of the film, as Michael acquaints the principal characters with Kay. Frito, John Cazale, Michael's next more established sibling, is a piece dumb and very tanked when he tracks down Michael at the party. Santino, who is nicknamed Sonny, James Caan, the wearer's oldest kid and next in line to become wearer upon his dad's retirement, is hitched, yet he is a hot-tempered swinger who slips into a room to have intercourse with one of Connie's bridesmaids, Lucy Mancini, Jeannie Linero. Tom Hagen isn't connected with the family by blood yet is viewed as one of the wearer's children since he was destitute when he got to know Sonny in the Little Italy neighborhood of Manhattan, and the wearer took him in and saw to Tom's childhood and training. Presently a capable lawyer, Tom is being prepared for the significant place of consigliere, guide, to the wearer, notwithstanding his non-Sicilian legacy. Likewise among the visitors at the festival is the popular vocalist Johnny Fontane, Al Martino, Corleone's godson, who has come from Hollywood to request of Vito's assistance in handling a film job that will rejuvenate his hailing vocation. Jack Woltz, John Marley, the top of the studio, denies Fontane this section, a person similar as Johnny himself, which will make him a significantly greater star, yet where Corleone clears up for Johnny, I will make him a proposition he can't afford to ignore. The wearer likewise gets celebratory welcome from Luca Brasi, an unnerving master in the criminal hidden world, and takes care of a solicitation from the pastry specialist, Nazreen, who made Connie's wedding cake, who wants for his nephew Enzo to turn into an American resident. After the wedding, Hagen is dispatched to Los Angeles to meet with Woltz, yet Woltz furiously lets him know that he won't ever projected Fontane in the job. Woltz holds resentment in light of the fact that Fontane tempted and destroyed a diva who Woltz had been preparing for fame and with whom he had a sexual relationship. Woltz is convinced to give Johnny the job, be that as it may. When he gets up promptly the following morning and feels something wet in his bed, he pulls back the sheets and ends up in a pool of blood. He shouts with sickening apprehension when he finds the cut off top of his valued $600,000 stud horse, Khartoum, in the bed with him. An erased scene from the film suggests that Luca Brasi, Lenny Montana, Vito's top button man or contract killer, is capable. Upon Hagen's return, the family meets with Virgil the Turk Salazzo, Al Lettieri, who is being supported by the opponent Tartaglia family. He asks where Corleone for supporting as well as political and legitimate insurance for bringing in and appropriating heroin. Notwithstanding the colossal benefit to be made, Vito Corleone denies, making sense of that his political impact would be risked by a move into the opiates exchange. The adjudicators and legislators he's aligned himself with throughout quite a few years would deny their fellowships with him if he somehow happened to enter the medication exchange. The wearer's oldest child, Sonny, who had prior encouraged the family to enter the opiates exchange, breaks rank during the gathering and starts to scrutinize Salustso's confirmations with regards to the Corleone family's speculation being ensured by the Tattaglia family. His dad, irate at Sonny's dispute in a non-relative's presence, quiets Sonny with a solitary look and secretly reprimands him later, where Corleone then, at that point, dispatches Luca Brasi to penetrate Salustso's association and report back with data. During the gathering, while Brasi is twisted around to permit Bruno Tattaglia to light his cigarette, he is wounded in the hand by Salustso, and is accordingly greeted by a professional killer. Not long after his gathering with Salustso, where Corleone is gunned down in a death endeavor right external his office, and it isn't promptly known whether he has made due. Fredo Corleone had been allotted driving and security obligation for his dad when Paulie Gatto, the Ware's standard protector, had phoned and debilitated. Fredo ends up being inadequate, bumbling with his firearm and incapable to fire back. At the point when Sonny catches wind of the Ware being shot and Paulie's non-appearance, he arranges Clemenza, Richard Castellano, one of his dad's two Caportagimes, to track down Paulie and carry him to the Ware's home. Salustso snatches Tom Hagen and holds him for a few hours, convincing him to offer Sonny the arrangement recently proposed to his dad. At the point when Tom is delivered, Salustso gets word that the Ware has endured the endeavor on his life. He furiously advises Tom to persuade Sonny to acknowledge his proposition. Irritated, Sonny will not think about it and issues a final offer to the Tattaglias: turn over Salustso or face an extensive, horrendous and expensive, for the two sides, pack war. They decline, and on second thought send Sonny a Sicilian message. As two new fish enclosed by Luca Brasi's tactical armor carrier, let the Corleones know that Luca Brasi lays down with the fishes. Clemenza later takes Paulie and one of the family's contract killers, Rocco Lampone, for a crash into Manhattan. Sonny needs to take care of business, set up beds in condos for Corleone button men to work out of if the wrongdoing war breaks out. Coming back from Manhattan, Clemenza has Paulie stop the vehicle in a distant region so he can pee. Rocco shoots Paulie dead. He and Clemenza abandon Paulie and the vehicle. Michael, whom the other mafia families consider a non-military personnel and not engaged with crowd business, visits his dad at a little confidential clinic in the wake of eating with Kay at her lodging. He is stunned to observe that nobody is monitoring him. A medical caretaker lets him know that the men were obstructing clinic strategy and were enlightened to leave by the police regarding 10 minutes before Mike's appearance. Understanding that his dad is again being set up to be killed, he calls Sonny for help, moves his dad to another room, and goes outside to watch the entry. Michael enrolls help from Enzo the pastry specialist, Gabriele Torai, who has come to the clinic to offer his appreciation. Together, they feign away Salustso's men as they drive by. Squad cars before long seen bringing the bad Chief McCluskey, Real Hayden, who violently punches Michael in the cheek and breaks his jaw when Michael implies that Salustso paid McCluskey to set up his dad. All at once, Hagen shows up with investigators for hire authorized to convey weapons to safeguard Ware Corleone, and he brings the harmed Michael back home. Sonny answers by having Bruno Tattaglia, Tony Giorgio, the oldest child and underboss of Ware Philip Tattaglia, Victor Rendina, killed, behind the scenes. Following the endeavor on the Ware's life at the emergency clinic, Salustso demands a gathering with the Corleones, which Skipper McCluskey will go to as Salustso's protector. At the point when Michael volunteers to kill the two men during the gathering, Sonny and the other senior relatives are entertained nonetheless. Michael persuades them that he is significant and that killing Salustso and McCluskey is to the family's advantage. It's not private. It's totally straightforward. In light of the fact that Michael is viewed as a non-military personnel, he will not be viewed as a dubious diplomat for the Corleones. In spite of the fact that cops are normally untouchable for hits, Michael contends that since McCluskey is bad and has unlawful dealings with Salustso, he is fair game. Michael likewise suggests that journalists that the Corleones have on their finance would get a kick out of distributing tales about a bad police chief. Michael meets with Clemenza, who readies a little gun for him, covering the trigger and grasp with tape to forestall any unique finger impression proof. He educates Michael about the legitimate method for playing out the death and advises him to abandon the weapon. He likewise lets Michael know that the family were all exceptionally pleased with Michael for turning into a conflict legend during his administration in the Marines, and that a conflict like the looming one that Solistso's and McCluskey's killings will start is essential about each 5 to 10 years to wipe out the desire and hatred that forms between the 5 families. Clemenza shows extraordinary certainty that Michael can play at the gig and lets him know it will all go without a hitch. The arrangement is to have the Corleone's witnesses figure out the area of the gathering and plant the pistol before Michael, Solistso and McCluskey show up. Before he leaves for the gathering, Sonny tells Michael he'll get word to Kay about not bidding farewell. Before the gathering in a little Italian cafe tilde copyright in the Bronx, McCluskey searches Michael for weapons and thinks that he is perfect. Following a couple of moments where Michael and Solistso chat in Italian, Michael pardons himself to go to the restroom, where he recovers the established pistol. Getting back to the table, he lethally shoots Solistso. Then, at that point, Michael is shipped off Conceal in Sicily while the Corleone family gets ready for hard and fast fighting with the 5 families, who are joined against the Corleones, as well as an overall clampdown on the horde by the police and government specialists. After 90 days, when the Were gets back from the medical clinic, he is troubled to discover that it was Michael who killed Solistso and McCluskey. In the meantime, Connie and Carlo's marriage is breaking down. They contend regularly over Carlo's thought disloyalty and his possessive way of behaving toward Connie. By Italian custom, no one, not so much as a high-positioning mafia Were, can mediate in a wedded couple's very own debates, regardless of whether they include betrayal, cash, or homegrown maltreatment. At some point, Sonny sees an injury all over and she lets him know that Carlo hit her after she inquired as to whether he was having an unsanctioned romance. Sonny finds and seriously beats Carlo in a jam-packed road for mistreating the pregnant Connie, and takes steps to kill Carlo in the event that he at any point hurts Connie once more. A furious Carlo answers by plotting with Tattaglia and Were Emilio Barzini, Richard Collant, the Corleone's central opponents, to have Sonny killed. Afterward, Carlo has one of his escorts telephone his home, realizing that Connie will reply. The lady requests that Connie tell Carlo not to meet her this evening. The extremely pregnant and distressed Connie pitches a fit, tossing the plates with their supper around the lounge area and kitchen. Carlo exploits the squabble to beat Connie to draw Sonny out in the open and away from the Corleone compound. At the point when Connie telephones the compound to let Sonny know that Carlo has beaten her once more, the incensed Sonny drives off, alone and unprotected, to satisfy his message against Carlo. While heading to Connie and Carlo's home, Sonny is trapped at a toll gate on the Long Island Highway and brutally shot to death by a few carloads of hired gunmen using Thompson sub-automatic rifles. Tom Hagen transfers the fresh insight about Sonny's slaughter to the Were, who asks for help from Bonacera to deal with the preserving of Sonny's body by and by. Instead of look for retribution for Sonny's killing, where Corleone meets with the tops of the 5 families to arrange a truce. Besides the fact that the contention depleting his every one of their resources and undermining their endurance, however, finishing it is the main way that Michael can get back securely. Switching his past choice, Vito concurs that the Corleone family will give political security to Tattaglia's traffic in heroin, for however long it is controlled and not offered to kids. At the gathering, where Corleone derives that Were Barzini, not Tattaglia, was at last behind the beginning of the crowd warned Sonny's passing, in spite of giving early indications of feebleness. In Sicily, Michael calmly endures his exile, safeguarded by Were Tommasino, Caradogba, an old family companion. Michael carelessly meanders the open country, joined by his consistently present guardians, Carlo, Franco City, and Fabrizio, Angelo Infanti. In a little town, Michael meets and goes gaga for Apollonia Vitelli, Simonetta Stefanelli, the delightful youthful girl of a bar proprietor. They court and wed in the customary Sicilian style, yet soon Michael's presence becomes known to Corleone foes. At some point, while Michael is training his new lady of the hour to drive, Tommasino brings the terrible news about Sonny's death. He needs to film Michael to a more secure area. As the couple is going to leave, Apollonia is killed because of a manipulated vehicle, initially expected for Michael. Detonating on starts Michael, who saw the vehicle detonate, spots Fabrizio swiftly leaving the grounds seconds before the blast, ensnaring him in the death plot. In an erased scene, Fabrizio is found years after the fact and killed. With his well-being ensured, Michael gets back. Over a year after the fact, in 1950, he reunites with his previous sweetheart Kay following a sum of 4 years of partition, 3 in Italy and 1 in America. He tells her he maintains that them should be hitched. Despite the fact that Kay is harmed that he stood by so lengthy to reach her, she acknowledges his proposition. With where Vito semi-resigned, Sonny dead, and center sibling Frito considered unequipped for maintaining the privately owned company, Michael is presently in control. He guarantees Kay he will make the privately owned company totally genuine in 5 years or less. After 2 years, Clemenza and Salvatore Tessio, Abe Vigoda, gripe that they are being moved around by the Barzini family and request that authorization strike back. However, Michael denies the solicitation. He intends to move the family tasks to Nevada, and from that point forward, Clemenza and Tessio might split away to shape their own families in the New York region. Michael further commits Connie's significant other, Carlo, that he will be his right-hand man in Nevada. Carlo had grown up there, uninformed about his part in Sonny's death. Tom Hagen has been taken out as consigliere and is presently only the family's legal counselor, with Vito filling in as consigliere. Secretly, Hagen asks about his adjustment of status, and furthermore questions Michael about another system of troopers covertly being worked under Rocco Lampone, Tom Roski, where Vito clears up for Hagen that Michael is following up on his recommendation. 1 more year or so later, Michael goes to Las Vegas and meets with Mo Green, Alex Rocco, a rich and smart gambling club manager hoping to extend his transactions. After the Ware's Endeavor death, Frito had been shipped off Las Vegas to find out about the club business from Green. Michael egotistically offers to purchase at Green, however is impolitely rebuked. Green accepts the Corleones are frail and that he can get a more ideal arrangement from Barzini. As Mo and Michael heatedly arrange, Frito sides with Mo. After Mo stomps out of the gathering, Michael cautions Frito to at absolutely no point in the future favor one side with anybody against the family. Michael gets back. In a confidential second, Vito makes sense of his assumption that the family's foes will endeavor to kill Michael by utilizing a confided-in partner to organize a gathering as a guise for death. Vito likewise uncovers that he had never truly planned an existence of wrongdoing for Michael, trusting that his most youthful child would hold genuine power as a representative or lead representative. A few months after the fact, Vito falls and passes on while playing with his young grandson Anthony Gallineris, in his tomato garden. At the entombment, Tessio conveys a proposition for a gathering with Barzini, which recognizes Tessio as the swindler that Vito was anticipating. Kay inquires as to whether he'll consent to be guardian to Connie and Carlo's infant child. Michael concurs and quickly takes advantage of the chance to dispose of rivalry from the other 5 families while likewise involving the sanctification as an explanation. The killings happen all the while during the function, where where Costello, is gunned down alongside his guardian in a lodging lift by a shotgun using Clemenza. Mo Green is killed while having a back rub, shot to the eye by an unidentified professional killer. Where Cuneo, Rudy Bond, is caught in a spinning entryway at the street. Regis and shot dead by warrior Willie Sisai. Joe Spine, where Tattaglia is killed in bed, alongside a whore, by Rocco Lampone and an obscure partner. Where Barzini is killed on the means of his place of business alongside his guardian and driver, shot by Al Neri, Richard Brilliant, camouflaged in his old police uniform. After the immersion, Tessio accepts he and Hagen are en route to the gathering among Michael and Barzini that he has organized. All things being equal, he is encircled by Willie Sisai and other button men as Hagen steps away. Understanding that Michael has uncovered his treachery, Tessio lets Hagen know that he generally regarded Michael, and that his traitorousness was just business. He inquires as to whether Tom can get him off for bygone era's purpose. However, Tom says he can't. Tessio is driven away and gone forever. It is inferred that Sisai shoots and kills Tessio with his own firearm after he incapacitates him before entering the vehicle. In the meantime, Michael defies Carlo about Sonny's homicide and powers him to concede his part in setting up the trap. having been drawn closer by Barzini himself. The hired gunmen who killed Sonny were the center individuals from Barzini's own guardian. Michael guarantees Carlo he won't be killed, yet his discipline is rejection from all privately run company. He hands Carlo a boarding pass to Austin, Las Vegas. In any case, when Carlo gets into a vehicle set out toward the air terminal, he is quickly gritted to death by Clemenza, on Michael's requests. Afterward, a crazy Connie faces Michael at the Corleone compound as movers divert the furniture in anticipation of the family move to Nevada. She blames him for killing Carlo in retaliation for Carlo's ruthless treatment of her and for Carlo's thought contribution in Sonny's homicide, and that Michael shrewdly held on until their dad kicked the bucket so Vito couldn't stop him. After Connie is taken out from the house, Kay questions Michael about Connie's allegation, yet he will not reply, reminding her to never get some information about his business or how he makes ends meet. She demands, and Michael altogether lies, consoling his better half that he assumed no part in Carlo's demise. Kay trusts him and is feeling better. The film closes with Clemenza and New Capora James Rocco Lampone and Al Neri showing up and offering their appreciation to Michael. Clemenza kisses Michael's hand and welcomes him as Ware Corleone. As Kay